You mentioned that when you were younger and you had exposure to these various groups like the Akhand Kirtanis and Damdami Taksal. I was 21 years old before I'd ever even heard the word Taksali. I remember very vividly having a conversation and someone saying, there was a camp when I was sort of early 20s, and that we were going to attend a camp. And it's actually my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, and I was having a conversation with her, and she said to me, "Oh, this camp should be really good because there should be a good mix of Taksalis, Nihungs, and Akhand Kirtanis at this camp." Right. And I remember having a completely blank expression on my face because I'd only just received Amrit the year before, and I was completely blank, and I was like, I don't know the words that you just said. So I grew up in a family where we weren't affiliated with any of these things. And I didn't even know these words. I didn't even understand what they meant by when she said Taksali and Nihungs. I was like, literally, you're just speaking another language to me. So one of the things that I think has been a godsend to me was having no affiliation with any of these groups. And I think what tends to happen with most people, as you say, is they assume a worldview, a viewpoint, and then they go into Gurbani and they interpret Gurbani with that worldview. And I think one of the things that I've been very lucky and very fortunate is that I was saved from that way of looking at Gurbani. I didn't come with preconditioning. And, we take the viewpoint of meat, for example. Like whenever that question would come up, my only frame of reference was, I know what my parents have taught me. I know what other people are saying. But what does the guru say? And this is how I would approach every single thing. I was like, I'm not going to listen to anyone. I literally just need to go and find every shabad in Gurbani and then figure it out for myself. And I would just do this time and time and time again, and almost adamantly not listen to katha or parcharaks that were coming from a particular angle. I mean, another way was, when it came, I one of the big series that we did on our channel very early on, about 2016 onwards, was a full translation of the Japji Sahib.
Yeah, that's going to be my next thing to listen to, by the way. I'm going to go through all of that.
And what you'll see the stark difference between how we do content now, like the Anand Sahib, and what we were doing back then. I mean, I literally went down to the level of why is every single word spelt the way it is. And in that Japji Sahib series, I defined the spelling of every single word. When it's spelt like this, it means this. And when it's spelt like that, it means that. And I know even in your background, you grew up having a little bit of an understanding with that. I think your dad had done a lot of work on this stuff as well.
Yeah.
And so for me, I just went down to that level of regimented analysis, and I did explore the meanings from lots of different things. I remember when I was translating the Japji Sahib, I had at least about 8 different tikas open, which are these kind of commentaries. And I had, Gyani Gurbachan Singh Pindrawale, I had Kavi Santok Singh, I had Veer Singh, I had Rajneesh Osho. I would just look at, I had Sant Singh Maskeenji, and I wanted to know everything from every different viewpoint. But the other thing that I would always do, and I think this is the mistake that most parcharaks makes, or most teachers make, is they tend to only do a translation based on book knowledge. And I think that's one thing that I refused to do, which was I had to include my own introspection as well. So as I'm going into meditation, I'm actually understanding layers and levels of myself, because you can't talk about a subject that is about the mind without you actually going in and spending time on your own mind. And I think that's the one element that I brought in is what have I experienced? And I think one of the things I tried to do, and I'm quite honest about it, is I will only talk about things that I've experienced. So a question that comes up quite a lot, whenever I do talks, is people say, what's your view on reincarnation? And I'll always give the same answer. I'm like, I don't remember my past life, and I have no interest in my future life. So I have no opinion on reincarnation, because I'm not going to go and say, Gurbani says this, because just as you rightly said, anyone can take any shabad and twist it based on however they understand it. And I'm saying, well, I have to add that element of what do I know from my own subjective experience? And I have no experience of my past life. I don't know what my reincarnated previous forms were, if any at all. So that's the thing. I always kind of stay in my lane, which is what do I know from my experience? and then make sure that is it true according to Gurbani? And I think one of the things I try to do, I genuinely do try to look at Gurbani from a neutral perspective. I'm happy for the Guru to tell me that I'm wrong. I'm happy to learn something and completely change my mindset. I'm not going in with a predefined set of answers that I'm just looking for quotes to then justify or validate it. And I think that's just been my